Good morning. It is Monday, Labor Day, the 7th of September, 2020. Pastor Ron Jetter, Immanuel Lutheran Church, Grandview, Washington. With Labor Day weekend ending tonight, then summer is officially over. Schools that delayed starting are beginning tomorrow. A lot of the farmers who have been waiting for this weekend are now going to hit the ground running at sunup tomorrow. Corn harvesting for cattle feed will be in full steam, full production, going like crazy. People who repair the tractors and transport them, people who drive them and operate them, people who keep them cleaned between shifts, and all of the product of the field, all the trucks that carry it, the corn choppers, everything is just in waiting on pause right now, ready to shift into high gear at sunup tomorrow. Of course, right now, the air is filthy. We are at an air index of over 252 right now, mid-morning on Monday, Labor Day, and it is considered very unhealthy. If it hits 300, it's considered hazardous. Very unhealthy, though, means that if you're going to go out, you should wear a mask. Hey, what a coincidence. We all happen to have masks. Yeah, don't go out. Stay in. If you're not going somewhere, I'm here in my basement studio. I'll be just doing some, working on some books today, working on the third novel. The first two are now published, so getting ready to get the third one all fixed up and ready to convert into an e-book and then start writing the fourth. So I've got my hobbies going. I've got my kiln, I've got my glass work. I don't like to do much of that during the summer, but if I need something to do, it's always there. And of course, there's always lots of house cleaning that can be done. We want to remodel the bathroom. Floor downstairs, and the downstairs kitchen needs replacing. What projects have you been waiting for? Summer's over. Have you done anything during the summer? I generally don't do anything indoor during the summer. It's outdoor stuff, partly because we don't like the doors open and the windows open in the summer or the winter. Spring and fall, yes, that's a great time to have windows or doors open. You can go in and out, take stuff that you lumber, tools, supplies, whatever, stuff that's been demolished can leave. So good time to do that. What we call these intermediate things can happen getting ready for a project. Chapter 35 of the book of Genesis is a lot like that. It's getting ready. God said to Jacob, get up and go back to Bethel, the place where you had dug a well, make an altar there to the God who appeared to you when you were running away from your brother Esau. God says to them, take all of this plunder that you've gotten, the household gods that Rachel stole from her father, the various kinds of amulets and objects, gold, silver, earrings, nose rings, all of these kinds of ornaments that they had taken from the Hivites after the violation of their sister Dinah and the revenge killings that they did. All of that, Jacob says, give it to me. And before they left the place that they called Mamre, he dug a hole near the oak tree under, where between the roots, I would guess, and he took all of that stuff and he buried it. A buried treasure. He didn't want anything that would make them impure going with them as they now left to go back to Bethel, where they would then settle in the land of Canaan. He told them, take all the clothing that we've gotten from foreign lands and from foreigners, destroy it, burn it, leave it behind, doesn't matter. They were going to be a new people again. They purified themselves. God then appeared again to him and blessed him, reminded him that his name is no longer Jacob, that he's now Israel. You are now a new person. He renews the covenant in chapter 35, verse 12. The land that I gave to Abraham and Isaac, I will give to you, and I will give the land to your offspring afterward. after you, excuse me. And then it says that's why Jacob called the place Bethel, because God spoke to him there. He poured out a drink offering on a stone and poured oil on it. So we have these ritual details. It's the retelling of stuff that we've heard before. It doesn't add anything to the story, but it adds a different perspective. It's the details that this priestly, the ritualite people want included in there. Okay, there was a stone and a drink offering. Wine probably was poured on that stone along with a prayer, and then oil was poured on top of that. And now finally we get to something interesting. Not all parts of a story are as interesting as far as advancing the plot. Some of them just need to be there. Oh, and remember, Jacob was afraid that after his sons had killed all the Hivites, that all the other nations around them might be upset. Well, as they were fleeing that place, God placed a terror on all the other kingdoms so that no one touched the Israelites, as they will now be called. Finally, in verse 16, we have a detail. They journeyed from Bethel, where they were still some distance from Ephrath. Rachel was in childbirth, and she had hard labor. When she was in her hard labor, the midwife said to her, "Do not be afraid, now you have another son." As her soul was departing, she named him Ben-Oni, but his father called him Benjamin. So Rachel died and was buried on the way to Ephrath, that is Bethlehem. Jacob set up a pillar at her grave. It is the pillar of Rachel's tomb, where it is there to this day. Israel journeyed on and pitched his tent beyond the Tower of Eder. So we're going to have this word Jacob and Israel now interchangeable. The reader is to be reminded that Jacob has two names. He is Jacob, he is Israel, the one who has striven with God and survived. And now he has his 12th son. But in the birthing of that second son of Rachel, the beloved wife, he also lost Rachel. She died giving birth to Benjamin. But now Joseph is no longer the youngest. He's still the favorite, but he's no longer the youngest. He still has 10 older brothers and a sister. While Israel lived in that land, Reuben went and lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine. And now remember, Bilhah is the mother of two of Reuben's half-brothers. Israel heard of it. Now the sons of Jacob were 12, and then now it's going to have the naming of the sons. And these names are then going to become loosely aligned with the 12 tribes of Israel. Not exactly. There will be 3 key differences as we get into the book of Exodus. But for now, starting with the firstborn, Reuben, and it lists them, verses 23 and following, by their mothers. From Leah, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun. From Rachel, Joseph, and Benjamin, the last two. The sons of Bilhah, Rachel's maid, Dan and Naphtali. The sons of Zilpah, Leah's maid, Gad and Asher. These are the sons of Jacob who were born to him in Padan Aram. Actually, they weren't all born in Padan Aram. In fact, Joseph was born in the land of Canaan. Benjamin was born in the land of Canaan. Now, remember way back when, we've got to go back several chapters, when Jacob had received a blessing from his father Isaac. His mother, Rebekah, says, "Now flee, your father's dying." And then she had apparently died. Well, now verse 27. Jacob came to his father Isaac at Mamre, where he had buried all the gold and stuff. That is Hebron. And these names, Bethlehem and Hebron, not too far from Jerusalem, they're going to keep figuring in the story. In fact, when King David came to the throne, it'll be at Hebron where he rules. For his predecessor, King Saul, never did attack Jerusalem, the capital city of the Jebusites. That'll be David. David will make Jerusalem the city of David. It's funny, in Luke 2, Bethlehem becomes the city of David. No, Jerusalem was the city of David for the Jews. Interesting detail there. But Jacob returns to his father. Now the days of Isaac were 180 years. Well, that's different than what it said earlier. It said Isaac was 127. So Isaac's still alive. I don't know. It's kind of strange. We don't know. There's details that don't always fit. Again, when you weave different stories together, they weren't worried about consistency of detail. They're telling a story for the purpose of truth, not historical fact so much. In fact, if we went and looked where all these places are, the pillar of Rachel's tomb, it's there to this day. Well, this day was thousands of years ago. Is it still there? Biblical archaeologists have searched throughout the land, and they found a number of places, some of which may be authentic. So some of them are still there, or at least believed to be near there. The treasure buried in the Oak of Memory, was it ever found? I don't know. Maybe we should ask Geraldo Rivera to look for that. Isaac finally does die. Verse 27. And 180 years were his days. While Isaac breathed his last, he died, was gathered to his people, old and full of days. His sons Esau and Jacob buried him. So Esau came back and joined his brother Jacob, and together they buried their father. So then we finally will get back to more story, more details. But then it's got to give us the details of Esau's life. So chapter 36, which we'll briefly talk about tomorrow, has details of Esau's life, which doesn't really matter because he's not one of the patriarchs. He's not part of the story of Israel.